Hey, everybody. Mobile services are being reinvented right under our noses. And today we have a company that's really driving innovation sort of quietly behind the scenes, behind Apple and Google and Samsung and the companies we all know, from things like eSIM innovation to satellite messaging and more. Uh, Looking forward to diving in here with Emir. Emir, how are you?
I'm great, Evan. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Maybe introduce yourself and your journey to NetLync and what is NetLync all about?
Yeah, Emir Aboulhosn, CEO and co-founder for NetLync Technologies. We're actually based out of Dublin, Ireland. We do basically entitlements or entitlement services, and we can get into that, explain that shortly, but we've been quite the disruptor in that space. Myself personally, I have a history of being a disruptor. This is my fourth startup that I've gotten going. So my journey started in I would say early 2000, right around the dot-com crash. So my timing was impeccable. I did peer-to-peer file sharing for Windows. Fortunately, that company was acquired early on, and that was my real foray really into getting much deeper into tech. Following that, following the acquisition, I was, with a group for 6.5 years. I got the startup itch all over again, and for some reason, I got bit by the telco bug. So I decided to jump into telco. I started in NVNO. I partnered with T-Mobile. We did a cross-border roaming service for Canadians going across the border. A lot of innovation around that, basically because we had to solve our own problems essentially. And from there, we started collaborating with Apple on the Apple SIM, which was the first real consumer eSIM application for iPad. And then from there, we, again, problem solving. Did one of the first, if not the first, in the eSIM orchestration. That's back in 2015, where eSIM was still quite difficult to deploy, and quite complex. So we had solved some significant problems around that. So out of that came another company called Autono Networks that was spun out of it. And then fast forward 2017, both Roam Mobility and Autono Networks were individually acquired. Roam Mobility went to Tucows, which was the owner of Ting at the time, Ting NVNO. And then Autono went to Idemia, which is one of the largest SIM vendors, eSIM vendors, and also largest in digital ID, actually globally, passports, credit cards, not just digital ID, but all types of ID as well too, and much more. Very big French company, to say the least. And there I spent 3 years running their digital connectivity domain, so everything under eSIM.
Wow.
Once that stint was over, I was going to take a bit of time off. That didn't last. I was presented with a really great opportunity to create a new startup, and we found a big problem in device entitlements, particularly around the adoption of eSIM, but more importantly around the making sure that iPhone users around the world all have the same experience. The same thing applies for Android users as well. And then from there, NetLync was born. So spent 3 years building it, and here we are today in the market with some really good success out of the gate.
Amazing. What a journey.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And you've been sort of quietly working behind the scenes with tech giants, Apple, Google, Samsung. What's it like as a smaller company, startup, developing services that end up in the hands of billions of people?
That's a really good question. I try not to think about it because it's one of those things that you realize. Oh, wait a minute! It's when you stop and think about it, you realize, wait a minute, this is it can be intimidating. I've fortunately had working with Apple, collaborating with them. I started back in 2013 on Apple SIM, so I was already I had good experience. And then when Idemia acquired my company, being one of the largest eSIM providers and particularly SIM providers around the world as well too. Obviously, I started collaborating even closer with the larger OEMs. Now I was behind a very big organization. I think it was about 15,000 employees. It was the size of that organization. To be honest with you, I mean, one thing that we've done and we've demonstrated really well is we react incredibly fast. We're not held. We don't get business politics for us is we're kind of blind or I'd say even deaf to it in some
Mm.
ways. So who we upset and who we disrupt is not our concern, to be honest with you. The idea there is we're trying to move the technology forward consistently. And we're trying to make it accessible to everybody on top of it. Now, along the way, we've solved problems for some of the really big operators and carriers, and we're really happy with that as well too. And we're loving the way it's received. But one of the things I think that's appreciated with us as an organization working with these giants is just our pace of innovation and our ability to zig and zag. I know it's a cliche, right? But we really can turn on a dime when we need to, or we see something that is a feature, and all of a sudden, the team is prototyping it within a matter of days, and sometimes it's the same afternoon after we get off a call. So we're really fortunate in that respect, and they appreciate that. And so we continue to maintain that that reputation, and we continue to build on it going forward.
Fantastic dynamic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something called entitlements as a service for those not deep in telecom tech.
Yeah.
How would you explain that value prop in plain English?
Yeah, it's a good question because anytime somebody asks my wife, "What does your husband do?" she struggles to answer that as well too, right? And forget about the kids. The kids have absolutely no idea what I do for work. They just know I work with these big guys. The entitlements is it's a technology that's been around for over a decade. Actually, it's essentially it's a protocol. Is the best way to describe it. That was created by Apple, and the main purpose of it was it drives authentication on the devices. So now with security requirements continually growing and growing and growing, what its really primary function under the gate is that it says, okay, I can prove who Evan is. It goes to the operator, does essentially what they call a phone number challenge. And going inside the operator systems, it says, okay, can you prove to me this is this device? And against the backend systems of the carrier, going back into their HLRs and sometimes to their what they call their AAA, which is what used to manage or authenticate the data connection as well, it can prove who Evan is, right? And then once it does that authentication and it does that handshake, then all of a sudden you can now enable your FaceTime and iMessage. So if you've ever noticed that when you get off a plane or you're going from one place to another and you're sending immediately, you want to send a text message to a loved one and say, I've arrived, and the message goes through as a text message. It's green, right? That means that the entitlement server on the carrier side has not been able to authenticate you yet. So it hasn't switched over to iMessage. And so sometimes that process is a little bit delayed. Sometimes it's instant. It should be instant. And then all of a sudden, once you've established that authentication, you've now got secure protocols in terms of sending messages back and forth. And now you've got security around your iCloud services. The same thing applies with Google, right? With Android as well, too. It works almost identical to the two of them. Now, once that authentication is established, the technology has evolved over the last decade, where the OEMs have essentially said, okay, now when we want to provision various services, was like at the time was voice over LTE or voice over Wi-Fi, or we want to pair an Apple Watch, or we want to pair Google Wear to your device, or pair an iPad. Now, because we know that these devices have been authenticated, now we can securely enable them as well too at the same time. But it also does something really cool. It goes and checks with the carrier. It says, hey, is this device actually authorized to provision the service? And is it qualified to do it? Is it on the right network? Does it have the right specifications? So now what it does is it's gone one step further, and now it's managing quality of service in the background between the devices to say, hey, we can ensure that this device has been with this operator, with this device, is now, not only is it authenticated, we can now properly provision the service. And based on that success of that technology, what they've done is they've simply layered on additional services on the back end, what we call use cases. So obviously the really biggest use case, which was mandatory, was Apple Watch, right? So Apple Watch, in order to connect them, or what we call daisy chain devices together, it handles that piece of it. But also with it came came eSIM, right? So now you can handle direct download into eSIM into the device, And then the next phase was, now we can transfer go from physical SIM to eSIM, or we can go eSIM to eSIM, right? Move the eSIM over when you're doing the device migration. So, and with Google's example, they've now provisioning satellite services off of it as well too. So those use cases are continuing to grow at a very rapid rate with it. And what it really does ultimately, at the end of the day now, and you know, you've seen some OEM presentations that are out there, it ensures that the customer has the best experience on the device. It's quickly authenticated, services are provisioned, and they work right out of the box, right out of the gate. There's no configuring, there's no entering anything else. Everything's all built natively into the operating system, and it's a completely elegant, smooth service. So the customer, you end up with a happier customer on the network and a happier customer from a device perspective as well too.
Love it. Yes. Many things to unlock there. eSIM has been a game changer for me personally, and so many of us early adopters. I have probably 4 or 5 different eSIMs at the moment. But you've done a lot to kind of rework how eSIMs are transferred, deployed, getting away from clunky QR codes. Talk to us about your work there.
Well, I mean, for me, eSIM, the first time I really came across eSIM, and it was fundamentally the same, was in 2013. So for me, when people talk about it being exciting and new, it's for me, it's a decade old. That took a really long time to come to market. Primarily, there was a lot of resistance from the operators at the time. A lot of unfounded fears, ultimately, that proved not to be true, fortunately. That's the good news. The way that we've been involved, myself, so for me, eSIM, and also more importantly, I've also been involved on all aspects of eSIM, right up to the manufacturing of it as well too. My time with IDEMIA, we were providing the backend infrastructure, what they call the SMDP Plus, where right up to the generating the profile, downloading the profile into a DP Plus, and then delivering it into the device as well too for the network operator. So I've touched every single piece of it. With regards to entitlements, what Apple has done, and Google so elegantly, is that within your operating, within iOS, within Android directly, the functionality exists to simply go in there and automatically deliver the eSIM without any customer involvement whatsoever. In fact, and if the customer wants, directly out of settings, and actually order a new eSIM as well too, and simply access it. This is important because you're not relying on a third-party app. I got to download the app. I got to set up an account. I got to do this. I got to do like all these following steps. Everything is completely out of the box. And this is what customers expect today. When they open the package and they turn on the device, they just want it to work, right? We're all becoming trained in that way. And that's why UX and UI and user experiences are probably as fundamental to the success of the product as the technology behind it. It doesn't matter how good the camera is. It doesn't matter how good the fast processor is or how much memory you have. If the experience is poor, it comes across as a poor product, right? So what we did was we needed to make sure that as Apple, particularly Apple and Google, are starting to roll out eSIM-only devices. So now we got iPhone Air, which is now the first global eSIM device from Apple. I'm a owner of one. I love it. And now you've got the Google Pixel as well too at the same time. What they need is to make sure that these devices are distributed around the world and work properly. We needed to democratize entitlements. And entitlements traditionally has been something that has been available to tier 1 operators, have been traditionally expensive, difficult to upgrade, difficult to deploy. So in 2021, we were given an opportunity to basically completely rewrite entitlements from literally a blank piece of paper, just from the ground up. So I had already been working with entitlements in my previous gig with IDEMIA through my acquisition of Watano. We did the first cloud deployment of entitlements, and that was really interesting, and it kind of was a different approach. But there was a lot of things that were fundamentally still broken. How does a carrier integrate it? How do they upgrade it? How do they add new use cases, especially all these use cases piling on? And then especially the fact that the eSIM experience should be the same for every single user around the world, no matter where they are, right? It just works out of the box. And so what we needed to do is make it incredibly accessible. And so today, my smallest customer has 500 subscribers in a remote region area, and my largest one is, well into the seven digits millions of overall. So we're again democratizing this technology to make sure it's accessible to everybody. And in the process, we've kind of disrupted the market, which was our intention. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The other big leap forward this past year has been RCS and
Yeah.
high-level communication between iOS and Android. It's
Hmm.
been a pain point for so many years for so
Yeah.
many. So how
Hmm.
close are we now to truly seamless messaging?
I think we're there. I think it's a
Mm,
matter of we're there in the sense that Apple and Google have established a protocol for what they call cross RCS, right? And it works, and it works great. Obviously, I think that both parties, and I'll say something a bit controversial, the kind of like, the fact that they were a bit separated really provided an opportunity for WhatsApp to kind of run away with it, right, from that kind of
mm,
basis. I'm happy they've done it. And to be honest with you, there's massive potential sitting inside of it, particularly with the security and the delivery of services around it. I know that Google on their side has been doing some really creative stuff with the business side of RCS, right? With delivering boarding passes and tickets and everything
mm,
else as well too. And so now you've got this, and now if you want to send them off to somebody, you can send them off to an iMessage user, and it comes across seamlessly. Nothing is lost in that process. So the protocols are there. The deployment is straightforward. You need entitlements. The carrier cannot deploy without entitlements. Again, it comes down to I was mentioning earlier on that the authentication of security. So now we've authenticated the iMessage user, we've authenticated the RCS, what we call Google Messaging user. So on the back end of it with entitlements, it does again more security checks and authentication. So that's all in place. And so we started doing some early work with Google on doing cross RCS for smaller operators to make sure it gets accessible out there. And
mm.
we've got some really good examples out there of customers that are doing that, and we've got a significant pipeline that are coming online. Not as fast as I had hoped they would, but they're definitely picking up with every single quarter. But I think we're there. I think in a few years that problem will be completely non-existent. To be honest with you, it
Mm.
has to be by 2028. Everybody should have entitlements, so there should be no excuse for it at that point anymore, right? So
Wow, that
yeah,
what a time that will be. The other thing I see you're involved with here is helping Google launch number verification without SMS. That sounds interesting. Why does that
yeah,
matter, and who benefits exactly?
yeah. I'm a big fan of that product as well too. So we worked with Google on that one. We were able to present it with Google at in Barcelona
Mm,
last year, and or sorry, this year. Oh, I gotta get my dates straight. So yeah, we present that with Google. We did the kind of early work and some supported them on some prototyping, and we're able to get a demo in place for Barcelona to watch it work. Now, what's really cool about that is, and this goes back to the original problem with authenticating devices. SMS was very much relied on for device authentication. It would send you the message, it would check in, and I can't go into detail, but there were some checks in there that in some cases you get like these background SMS messages that would verify the device. There's a lot of big problems with SMS. Besides the fact that, look, it's kind of a dated technology, if you ask me, right? In terms of where its origin is and where it kind of started, if you know the whole entire history around it. And yes, it's been instrumental in where we are in the world of telco, but it's kind of time to move on from it. And in that process, especially in the last, probably I'd say last 5 years, it's been ripe with, with fraud, right?
mm.
Uh, Carriers being overcharged, device manufacturers being overcharged, developers being overcharged. The pricing is kind of all over the map. Security gaps, right? You've heard some really bad stories regarding Bitcoin and everything else like that. It's time to move on from SMS, right? For authentication. So Google's come up with phone number verification. And the beauty of it is that the app developer now has the ability to basically leverage entitlements to go in there to do an instant check on the device from the
Oh,
app itself, completely seamless without entering a phone number. And it will do the check. And then all of a sudden, it will authenticate that device, right? So no more entering your phone number, waiting for the text message to come in, whether it doesn't come in, multiple, getting a code and all that kind of stuff. Right within the app, you can now embed the ability to verify a device or verify the phone number directly directly from the app into the carrier via entitlements, and it's completely seamless and instant. And
wow.
this is now available to the app developer. right? This is no longer just an exclusive OEM piece that's used to authenticate the device itself. It's now doing it. It's now there to authenticate the user, and the app developer has access to this technology. Completely elegant, completely seamless, very, very secure on top of it. And it's really kind of the new face forward. And the great thing is we've seen really massive enthusiasm. And as Google's continued to rolling it out, we're working with them on that. It is something I'm super excited about, right? Because it's an evolution, solves a problem, and it's another step forward where we should be going.
Fantastic opportunity, win-win for everyone involved. Let's talk satellites. You've been involved in enabling Android satellite messaging. That's cool. And what do you see next for satellite? It's top of mind for everyone these days. So exciting what's happening in mobile.
Well, I mean, Evan, if you asked me that your handheld device, your iPhone or your Android device would have global connectivity no matter where you are in the world, a few years ago, I would have told, wow, that's a nice dream, right? I mean, I actually remember holding satellite phones or using a satellite phone. So it was that big one with the antenna and everything else with it, or using a pager, with your background, right? Using a pager that was satellite enabled as well too, and passing messages back and forth. So, carriers now have the opportunity to provide their customers, even in the world of IoT, but particularly let's just focus on consumer for now, really another level of safety and security, and just that ability to stay connected everywhere in the world. And you're hearing a lot of great stories about satellite saving lives, right? More importantly, obviously, we're hearing about it from kind of the experience from Starlink and all the other kind of stuff where, internet connectivity, high speed connectivity is now widely available. But the fact that I can travel anywhere in the world and I can pretty much, take my device and, be able to text, eventually you'll be able to do much more with it. I won't go into detail, but the ability that I can stay connected with anyone, anywhere in the world, no matter how remote the region is absolutely remarkable. So carriers now have that ability to basically add on that service. We've seen T-Mobile do it with Starlink. They've closed the entire coverage gap. With, again, going back to entitlements, what we're doing is we're taking that particular use case and we're enabling it for the carrier against the satellite provider. And then furthermore, ensuring that the quality of service is there, that it works properly, provisions properly, and it's very secure at the same time. So very excited about that technology with Android. And obviously, we're just at the kind of the starting phase of it. I think it's going to grow into, obviously, more data services, more voice, eventually maybe video. Who knows where it goes on that basis. But again, the fact that your Android or your iPhone now has satellite connectivity is pretty remarkable from a tech standpoint.
Yeah, it's science fiction realized for sure.
Yeah.
We'll have communicators next. So much happening in our industry. 5G Advanced is going to unlock so many new features, functionality. We've got wearables that are getting very real. Glasses in particular. We've all heard rumors about Apple's glasses that are in the works. What kind of new frontiers, devices, services are you kind of most excited about?
The one thing definitely is I'm very excited from a telco perspective, just the level of everything being connected securely and seamlessly. And so you're, having your own personal ecosystem of connected devices, right, with reliable connectivity is really quite remarkable. I mean, I have this essentially, at my home where I can be anywhere, and I've got 360 coverage of my home. My alarm system just goes on and on, all of it back into my device going forward. And now those form factors are going to eventually change. We've seen what Meta has done. We hear the rumors that are out there. And the fact that the form factors are seeing big updates. I mean, honestly, the iPhone Air is a pretty cool device because it is incredibly thin, it is incredibly lightweight. So we know that those form factors are going to significantly change. We've seen the wearables, Apple Watch, continue to evolve. I mean, in fact, the new Ultra has satellite connectivity in it too. I mean, your wrist has satellite connectivity. I know.
It's huge.
The same thing for me too, right? Yeah,
amazing.
I know. So I think for me, the ability to get the benefit of having devices that are not only connected but also up to date as well too, features that are delivered on demand, functionality that's delivered, and with, you talk about 5G and the slicing aspect of it, where I'm not just simply restricted to one lane. I can, jump onto a premium lane and say, hey, I want something that has really high speed and low latency for whatever reason, whether I'm gaming on the road or anything else on that perspective. All of those things have now been completely wide open. The question comes down to, can the operator adapt fast enough? I do think that the industry, the two worlds are really out of sync, right? The device manufacturers are moving definitely at a much faster pace, especially when you add in the element of, AI into it, which we're even embedding AI into entitlements. We're not doing it for the sake of just being trendy. We're utilizing it in really remarkable ways as well too. But you've got the OEMs and device manufacturers around all range moving at just lightning speed. The problem is the carriers still have these networks that they've got to continually update and upgrade and everything else. And so the cloud-based infrastructure solves a very, very big problem around that. And we're really trying to work that shift. We went cloud-based because for us, it was the only logical way to go. It gives you that speed, it gives you that security, it gives you that flexibility. And diversity you need for different problem statements as well too. So the for me, it's the question is, can we get the operators? Can we again continue to democratize all of these infrastructure elements and move them into a pace where, as new devices roll out and they're announced, you're not waiting a year or two for your carrier to support them. They're available on day one, right? To me, that's kind of the problem statement that we're continuing to solve, and that's kind of the evolution that we're going down. But that's where I'm kind of pushing things towards, right?
Wonderful.
But yeah, it's really, for a techie, it's a really fun time right now for us.
It's a great time.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's only going to get better. I've just booked my travel to Mobile World Congress Barcelona, the annual mecca, to the center of all things mobile. I'm sure I'll see you there. Can you give us a peek into your near future? Anything you're excited about, or roadmap, or other things you're going to announce?
I can give some previews on it. We did do some kind of like a lightweight AI assisted tools. We're just about to announce a kind of a next wave phase in that. That part is really exciting. And I'm saying this because every time we preview it to a customer, we're like, wait a minute, I didn't know you could do that. Right? In fact, some of them said, you shouldn't be doing that because you're showing me the problems on my network, which you're creating more problems for me to solve, right? But we're telling them how to solve them, right? So our next foray into entitlements into AI is just literally around the corner. I'm hoping in this week or next week we should be, the information should be out there on that one. There are new use cases, obviously scheduled to roll out with new functionality and new features going forward. That's one of the things that we're going to be, probably Barcelona will be big for us as well. Last time we were able to preview phone number verification with Google, which we're really excited about. This time there will be a new some more use cases that will be previewed and demoed. Like, we not just previewed, not talked about, but actually we'll be able to demo them while we're there. So we're really hyped about that one as well too. I think the ability that by Barcelona, every carrier should either be supporting eSIM, or anyone that's kind of in the corners of somewhere that is probably hopefully months away from deployment for supporting eSIM as well too, which really has a lot of potential in it to kind of go even further. Some stuff that we're kind of experimenting with as well in terms of where eSIM could ultimately go. I mean, I've been living and breathing it for 12 years now, right? So I'm kind of excited to get ahead of it and see where else we can take it. So.
Fantastic. Well, the tour de force of mobile technology. Really appreciate your insights and time. And I'll see you at Mobile World Congress.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll be there to demo for you. So you'll connect as well.
Fantastic. And thanks everyone for sharing this podcast. Also, check out our TV show, techimpact.tv, now on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Emir.
Thanks, Evan.
Bye-bye.